Am I the asshole for refusing to call my 8-year-old half-unlce uncle? So my family's kinda a mess. What you need to know for this is that both my dad and grandpa had kids young, so I'm 15, my dad is 37, and I think grandpa is somewhere in his late 50s. Grandparents divorced when I was a kid and 2 years later grandpa remarried. His new wife, who's younger than my dad, brought a kid to the marriage, and suddenly I had a step-uncle. Let's just call him Brian. When we first met, the kid was like 4 or something. I thought it would be funny to call him Uncle Brian cause of the ridiculousness of having an uncle so much younger than me. It was a joke and he liked it, so I kept calling him that. Couple years later and we find out he's not my step-uncle but my half-uncle. Grandpa apparently had a second family he managed to hide even through the divorce and tried to pass his new wife off as someone he'd met just after separating. Cue big drama, messy fighting. I didn't see Grandpa and his new family for more than a year. He's only just started patching things up between the rest of our family, so I only just met my Brian again. He's become a little shit. He's needy, whiny, and throws tantrums all the time. I just try to ignore him but his mom spoils him, so I don't think he'll get better anytime soon. None of this would be a problem except when my grandpa was trying to patch things up. He moved closer my family and now Brian and I go to the same school. It's AK-12, and though I don't see him during the day, we sometimes run into each other after school. I've got a club and he's in the after-school childcare thing. When we see each other he keeps wanting me to call him Uncle Brian and I keep telling him no. The other day he threw one of his tantrums at school saying I have to call him Uncle Brian. He's my uncle and that means I have to do what he says. I told him no I didn't and that I'm tired of him being a whiny brat. I'm older than him and that means he has to do what I say. He didn't listen and kept saying I have to call him uncle. We ended up making a bit of a scene and word got back to our families and Brian's mom said if it meant so much to him that I should just call him uncle. I said I'm not doing that. Grandpa sided with her and my dad hasn't said anything directly but I think he wants me to do it just to keep the peace. But it's stupid. He's a kid and calling him Uncle Brian just because he's whining that I have to do it is demeaning, especially at school. It was a joke when he was younger. One that I chose to participate in and not something that was forced on me. But this is different. Am I the asshole if I stand my ground on this? Not the asshole BTW. I can't stop laughing QT this kid thinking you should call him uncle. Not the asshole. I'm so sorry but this is hilarious. The kid is clearly on a power trip and is used to getting what he wants. Not the asshole. The kid is being a brat and giving in will only contribute to the behavior, which his mom obviously is in favor for because she's the one enabling it. Not the asshole. Why is your entire family behaving like toddlers? It's up to you how you want to handle this. Personally I would have fun with it. Really exaggerate the uncle thing. Call him King Uncle Brian I, leader of the playground and smiter of enemies. Every single time you have to address him. But that's because I'm extremely petty LMAO. Malicious compliance. But you are within your rights and not the asshole for standing your ground. Not the asshole. Since he's throwing fits over it then you'd basically be saying throwing a tantrum gets you what you want. His mother isn't doing him any favors by asking you to take the easy way out of it. Frankly, I think the adults in this situation should keep their attention on Brian's behavior and not yours. But what you can do is not engage. Don't call him a brat. Don't even tell him he has to listen to you just because you're older. That line of reasoning is ineffective and really frustrating for kids. It will make you look much better for it if you just ignore him from now on. Kids thrive on attention, even if it's for bad behavior. Try to stay clear of him and see how that goes. Not the asshole. My son rarely calls my brother uncle, because my brother is so much younger than me. He knows my brother is his uncle, but he just sees him as another kid. The fact that this kid is demanding respect from you is ridiculous and hilarious. Not the asshole. Other than your response that he has to do what you say because you're older, that's 100% incorrect. Not the asshole, but stop engaging with the little brat. Ignore his bad behavior and leave a situation where he starts up. Let him stand there alone and embarrass himself. Screaming about being called uncle. Am I the asshole for refusing guardianship and questioning my dad's decision to have a kid at his age? This is a throwaway. Quick background. I am 37 female married to 37 male. We have 4 kids ranging from age 4-12. My dad is 65 male and on his 3rd marriage. My mom is the same age as him, his second wife is 50, and his current wife is 40. He had 2 kids during his second marriage, 17 male and 15 female. And now he has a 6-month-old. When the 15-year-old was born, my husband, Finis at the time, and I were named in my dad's will that we would raise my siblings if the worst happened and they were orphaned. We were fine with this. And we still are fine with it. There is no doubt that if this scenario were to come to pass tomorrow, it would be extremely hard. But my siblings are now teenagers, so there would at the very least not be much physical hands-on care, plus the responsibility would only last technically for 3 more years. This is obviously not the case with the baby. If the worst happened tomorrow, we'd be starting all over. My husband and I are agreed on no more babies and have taken the necessary measures to ensure that. And with our youngest finally fully trained, we are thrilled with the diaperless future ahead of us. So my dad told us a few weeks ago that he updated his will and naturally named us as guardians for the baby. I said he'd better change it then, because absolutely not, and outlined the reasons above. Dad didn't take it well. He said it was really unfair that I was favoring some siblings over others. I reiterated that was not the case, though I do of course have a much closer relationship with my teen siblings than with my baby sibling. He's cute and all, but I've got my own kids to focus on. My personal situation is very different than it was 15 years ago. I told my dad to ask people on his wife's side of the family and he doesn't want to because he doesn't feel they'd respect his wishes for raising the kid the way I would. I said I'm sorry, but I am just not able to make this level of commitment. Then Dad started complaining it's not fair, due to his age, he really needs the assurance that his kid will be in good hands. So I quipped back, due to his age, he shouldn't have gone and had another kid. Dad responded that was a nasty thing to say and hung up, and things have been strained ever since. I guess I could have been a little nicer, but I do stand by what I said. I am not in a position to commit to this, and frankly, having a baby at his age was dumb and he should have thought it through better. Am I the asshole for my refusal to be a guardian and for sharing my thoughts on my dad's choices? Not the asshole, and your dad is crazy to assume you'd still be willing, able to take on that kind of responsibility in your mid-30s with a house full of your own kids. Not the asshole. He should have thought about this before having a child. People shouldn't feel free to dump their kids on others. The good news is that his wife is almost your age, so it's unlikely she will die before the kid reaches adulthood. Not the asshole, your dad is way too old to be having kids and could go tomorrow. It is not your responsibility to be raising another baby. Your dad is pretty selfish. Not the asshole. You are saying that you are unwilling to give this child the love and care he needs. You are being honest. And this is in the best interests of the kid. He deserves a loving home. Your father should have changed the will without question. Guys can get fixed, and the surgery is way less than what ladies have to go through. Your dad intentionally created this life, and it was his job to think things through before screwing the kid over. Not the asshole, and you're totally not wrong. He should have thought that through when he decided to have a child at 65. Your life is in a different place right now and you have every right to not want to slide backward into babyhood. He was extremely rude and manipulative for putting you on there without asking you. Stand your ground. Not the asshole, your father did not think through things nor have plans in place for having another child. He should have asked you before putting you down as guardian, and he should respect your wishes. It has nothing to do with how you may feel about siblings or step-siblings. I have 6 siblings, and although we are all adults now, I would never have taken on responsibility for them. He chose to have the child and it's she responsibility. Plus he has a much younger wife and her family to go to. I think you were being very responsible. Not the asshole, your father seems to have forgotten this. His wife exists in the writing of his will. If she is alive, whatever he thinks is going to happen with guardianship is going to stop with her. Yes, she'll be a single mother with a kid. THST is somewhere between 6 months and 20 years of age. Unless they both die and leave the child alive, this is a moot subject. Not the asshole, you were fully logical and correct in your statement. It might have been hard for him to hear, but he made a decision and just assumed you'd pick up the slack if he wasn't able to fulfill his parental obligation. That was not a wise or an informed decision on his part. And you're 37. I don't blame you for not wanting to start all over should the worst come to pass. Nope, your dad's gonna have to deal with his choices. Am I the asshole for not telling my daughter's father that she has cancer? Yeah, the title sounds pretty bad, but let me explain. Throwaway for privacy. I, F24, have a 3-year-old daughter with my ex, M27. We split up in December 2020 after I found out he cheated on me, and since then he has been almost completely absent in my daughter's life. He has visited a grand total of 10 times, never pays for any costs at all, insults both me and her, and has made nasty posts on his Instagram calling me an ugly whore, and has made several posts calling our daughter ugly as well. Flash forward to a few weeks ago, and my daughter started complaining of pain, and was running a fever, and had some pretty nasty bruising. I freaked out and took her to the doctor, only to be told that it was a virus that would go away, and that it wasn't COVID, or flu. I called my ex and was trying to tell him how worried I was, but he told me he didn't care, and hung up. Because of this, I cut him off, and just resolved not to tell him anything else. Eventually I took my daughter back to the doctors, and begged them to do something else. Blood tests, and other tests were performed, and it turns out she has B-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia. This is the scariest moment in my life. As I sit here, writing this, my daughter is down for sedation and counts. We've been in the hospital since her diagnosis 2 weeks ago. I've cried more than I've ever cried in my entire life, and seeing her tiny body infested with this horrible disease is almost more than I can handle. Last night I made a Facebook post about my daughter. My Facebook is private, and I'm not friends with my ex or any of his friends. I am friends with his sister though, we haven't talked since I broke up with him, so I pretty much forgot about it. Well, she saw the post and told him. I didn't check my phone most of today because I am so preoccupied that I don't have time. When I opened my messages today, I saw over 20 messages from my ex, and his mother, calling me horrible names, telling me I should have told them, and that I'm a shitty person for not telling them. He called me a whore again, and told me that it was his daughter too, and he had the right to know about this. I asked if he would like to come see her, and he declined, but twisted this to his family, and now everybody is mad at me. Am I the asshole? Jesus. I'm so sorry this is happening. 100% not the asshole. Also, fuck him right in the ear. You tried to tell him she was sick. Even if you didn't know at the time it was cancer, and he blew it off. End of story. As for the rest of the family being mad at you, if they're not mad at him for calling you a whore and his own daughter ugly, well, fuck 'em. They suck and their opinions don't matter. Not the asshole. Get you a lawyer. Post the receipts on your social. Print every text message he sent you disparaging you and your daughter and put them in a 3-ring binder. Print out your child support agreement and bank statements since the agreement was signed. Build a case for sole custody of this poor child. She doesn't deserve those people fighting over her when they never bothered to fight for her, or you, in the first place. Not the asshole, and this seems like an ideal time to go to court to demand some financial support for that daughter he suddenly seems to care about. Not the asshole, he made his position very clear about how he feels towards his daughter. Any father would be concerned even over the flu, so he doesn't deserve to be clued in. But make sure he pays his child support. Medical bills are on him as well, even if he has shown he doesn't really care. Not the asshole. Post any and every record you have. Take screenshots of conversations and send them to his family. No, actually get a restraining order against him and his family. You are much better off without them adding more stress. And your daughter certainly doesn't deserve to be in this position while she's fighting for her life. You can tell her what happened when she gets older. Not the asshole, but more than that, you and your daughter are in my heart, and you are a wonderful mother for advocating for your daughter and not just blindly trusting the doc. And lastly, FCK that sperm donor. If need be, block all of his numbers and Hia family's numbers and Facebooks and everything. He knows, Jess declined to be involved, made his position perfectly clear. You have no obligation here, to him or his family. Heart. Not the asshole. Block everyone, and concentrate on your life and your daughter's. Post this thread on social media so everyone can see. Also go to court once your daughter is out and hit him up for child support. I'm sorry about your daughter's diagnosis. In the event you need a bone marrow transplant for her, please keep us updated. I'd be happy to check if anyone in my family is a match. In the meantime, not the asshole. Cut this man, and his family, out of your life the same way you would your daughter's cancer. They are only going to cause drama to the extreme, at the time you both least need it. My prayers for a full recovery. Am I the asshole for refusing to pay my brother-in-law for babysitting my daughter? I, 34-year-old, have a 5-year-old daughter. My wife is deceased and my in-laws are my only supporters. Some days ago, I had an appointment with the dentist, and the babysitter who was supposed to watch my daughter called and cancelled. I didn't know what to do, so I called my brother-in-law asking if he was willing to watch his niece till I get back from the appointment. He said he wasn't sure since he had a couple of tutoring sessions to get done. I told him to skip and dropped my daughter off at his apartment, then left. When I came back to pick her up in the evening, brother-in-law asked me to pay him for watching my daughter for 4 hours. I was taken aback and asked if he was serious. He reminded me that he had 2 tutoring sessions that he had to cancel last minute, and since I pushed him to stay with my daughter and watch her, then I need to pay him. I refused and said he was being somewhat greedy and an opportunist to even think sitting his niece would grant him easy money. He said it wasn't easy money, but time wasted in his very busy schedule. We had an argument and I left with my daughter. He called my in-laws, who said that he was in THR right and I should have paid him for his time and be appreciative of his efforts. I told them I didn't expect him to ask for money, but they said it's what I do with babysitters. Well, yes, but he's family and last thing I expect from him is to ask for money for staying with his niece. Besides that, I had an emergency and couldn't miss the appointment knowing how hard it is to get another one. He's still insisting on being paid and I keep refusing. At this rate I think he's being ridiculous, but I don't know. It all seems to be misunderstanding. Say I did pay him. This would set the precedence for him to keep expecting money every time. Am I the asshole for not paying him? I forced my brother-in-law to cancel 2 tutoring sessions, losing him money to make him watch my child. Then, instead of offering to cover the money he lost, I refused because family equals free labor. Even when you inconvenience them. Fixed it for you. You are the asshole. If I were him, I'd never sit for you again. You are the asshole. He said he couldn't watch her. You dumped her on him anyway. He had to cancel paid work. He is not trying to profit from you, he is trying to recoup his losses. You are the asshole. You lost me at when he told you he had to tutor and you told him to skip that. Like what? Now, I never charge for babysitting my family, but I also would have not tolerated someone telling me to change my plans last minute to accommodate their emergency. You are the asshole. If your babysitter hadn't cancelled, you would have been paying anyway. You didn't ask him to watch her, you demanded it. He missed out on money to do this for you. You're not somehow entitled to free babysitting just because someone is family. Wow. You are the asshole, and let me count the ways. Brother-in-law was busy and not available to babysit, yet you dropped her off. Then you refused to pay him for helping you? Yeah, definitely, big round gaping awe. Pay the man, and never dump your daughter on someone that hasn't agreed to care for her. That is irresponsible and should result in a call to CPS. Sorry about your wife, but you aren't doing this right at all. You are the asshole. He cancelled paying clients to watch your kid. He lost pay to cover your problem. And in addition, this harms his reputation as a reliable tutor. You owe him double. You are the asshole. Why the F shouldn't he expect money every time? He's doing a service for you. He literally lost money from his tutoring jobs to babysit for you, but it doesn't even matter. He deserves to be paid for his work. Free babysitting is a gift, not an obligation. You're a hugely entitled asshole. You are the asshole. You told him to skip? If you're going to force him to miss an opportunity to get paid, then you absolutely need to compensate him.